You ever think you finally found peace, only to have someone in khakis and a fake smile try to rip it all away? That's how it started for me. The day I saw a man with a clipboard walking around the edge of my lake like he owned it. I bought my place 5 years ago, tucked right on the edge of Sandhill Trails, a gated community with oversized houses and undersized common sense. It wasn't my dream home because of the neighbors. It was the lake out back. An old spring-fed basin with cypress trees and dragonflies, and enough quiet to make you forget and the world had lost its mind. That lake was my therapy, my backyard project, my weekend hobby. I'd restored the banks, restocked the fish, and even built a little dock for when I needed to sit and just breathe. I was left alone for the most part. Until Dana Caldwell showed up. Dana was the newly appointed head of the HOA, or at least that's what she claimed. Rumor had it she wasn't even elected properly. Just inserted herself into the role after the last guy quit over a fence height dispute. She strutted around like she'd been crowned queen of the cul-de-sac, handing out citations for untrimmed bushes and faded mailboxes. But she had bigger plans. She'd only been in the neighborhood 6 months before she called a community safety meeting and started talking about water levels, property values, and something she called visionary infrastructure upgrades. I should have known right then that she was coming for my lake. It wasn't even subtle. She plastered every mailbox with flyers that screamed "Flood Risk Alert" in big red letters. Never mind that we were in the middle of a drought, or that the lake had been there since the 40s. She claimed runoff from the lake could overwhelm the drainage system during storms, even though there hadn't been standing water in the streets in decades. Then she unveiled her big plan, a wellness park complete with pickleball courts, a meditation pavilion, and a water feature. That water feature right where my lake sits. Only, she wasn't planning to use the actual lake. No, she wanted to drain it, fill it with gravel, and dig a decorative fountain closer to her property line. She even had a mock-up printed on glossy poster board, and the HOA lapped it up. The worst part wasn't the plan. It was the way she twisted the truth to make it happen. She showed fake flood maps at the meeting, pulled out some county engineer's vague memo from years ago, and cherry-picked data to make it look like my lake was one storm away from drowning the neighborhood. I tried to speak, to explain that I had documentation, original topography reports, even the blueprints from the original builders showing the lake was designed as a drainage buffer. But Dana waved me off like a heckler at a town hall. "We've heard enough from you," she said, without even looking in my direction. "This is a safety issue." The vote passed before I could even get my second breath in, 2 mornings later. I woke up to the sound of pumps growling like angry chainsaws. Trucks lined the street, hoses snaked down the hill, and the lake's surface was already sinking fast. Dana stood there in a reflective vest, directing the crew with a walkie-talkie like she was launching a rescue mission. She had permits. She said temporary utility access through the HOA-owned easement. I was powerless to stop them. Fish flopped in the mud. Frogs disappeared into the cypress roots. And the water that had mirrored the sunrise for years was gone by that afternoon. I was furious, but I wasn't stupid. I knew yelling would do nothing. So instead, I sat in my workshop and pulled out the one thing I knew she hadn't seen: the original stormwater control blueprints for the neighborhood. I'd kept them from my time working civil engineering for the county copies from the archive, with every pipe, valve, and overflow route mapped in detail. See? The developers back in the 70s were smart. They'd tied the lake into the entire neighborhood's runoff system, using a gravity-fed setup with manual overrides. Most of those override valves sat buried and forgotten, but not by me. And 2 of them still on my land. I waited. Not days, weeks. Let her think she'd won. Let her start construction. Sure enough, she scheduled a groundbreaking ceremony for her new Sandhill Serenity Park, complete with a ribbon cutting, a local photographer, and half the neighborhood in attendance. She sent out digital invites, set up folding chairs right in the dried-up lake bed, even ordered a custom sign with her name on it, Caldwell Commons, a vision for the future. I almost laughed. The night before, I oiled the valves and checked the system. Just a quarter turn would do it. And I knew exactly where the pressure would build right beneath the old overflow zone, which now happened to be Dana's ceremonial lawn. I waited until she was mid-speech, golden shovel in hand, thanking herself for her tireless service. Then I turned the wheel. It started slow, a bubble here, a glisten there. The first splash hit someone's ankle in the front row. Then the mud swelled and burst like a geyser, soaking Dana from the knees down. Water flowed in every direction, chairs toppled, the ribbon floated away, and someone's dog bolted into the street. Dana tried to shout over the chaos, called it a sprinkler malfunction. But the crowd wasn't buying it. Someone yelled, "This isn't a lawn problem and this is a flood," and just like that, the illusion cracked. I didn't say a word. Just stood on my porch with a cup of coffee and watched as the same people who'd voted to erase my lake now dragged soaked shoes and muddy purses back to their SUVs. Dana stood alone in the wreckage, holding that ridiculous shovel like it could dig her out of the mess she'd made. By the next day, the photos were everywhere. Dana, mid-splash, hair ruined, ceremony in ruins. A few neighbors came by my place, not to apologize exactly, but to ask questions. They wanted to know about the drainage system, about the purpose of the lake, about whether it could have been avoided. I didn't rub it in. I showed them the blueprints, explained how the lake worked, why the flooding wasn't random. It was basic hydrodynamics. The lake had absorbed water for decades. Without it, there was nowhere for pressure to go. I wasn't some reclusive pond hoarder. I was a guy who understood water. And water, like truth, always finds a way back. A week later, someone circulated a petition to hold a recall vote for Dana's HOA position. It filled up in 2 days. The election wasn't even close. She was out by a landslide. The new board, led by a retired city planner named Mr. Harrington, voted unanimously to halt the park project and begin restoring the lake. They asked for my help. This time, I said yes. Together, we reopened the old inlet slowly, letting the basin refill over the next month. Birds returned. The fish bounced back faster than anyone expected, and that mirror surface sunrise came back like it had never left. We added a wooden sign near the shore Sandhill Lake, protected watershed since 1974, restored 2025. Dana sold her house not long after rumor was she took a big hit on the sale. The buyer's young couple with 2 kids. The first thing they did was walk down to the dock and throw breadcrumbs to the ducks. I still sit out there most evenings, feet on the railing, breeze in my face. The water's calm again. So am I. And if the HOA ever decides to come for the lake again, well, let's just say I still have the blueprints.